Hexagram number 2. The receptive. Bear everything as the earth bears with all that lives on it. In this hexagram, the trigram Kun being doubled represents the essence of the material earth, nurturing principle, just as Jian, when doubled, represents the essence of the creative principle. Kan represents the female in its cosmological sense, as purely female attributes occur in nature, as the receptive, absorbing, resilient, dark, and nurturing earth power. It is the opposite of Jian, as the radiant, outpouring light source of the sun. By allowing itself to be acted on by the light power of the sun, the receptive power of the earth gives birth, nurtures, and brings to completion the life principle generated when two come to meet each other halfway, furthering through the perseverance of a mare. A good mare lets herself be guided. She endures the burdens put on her and bears with people and things. Shown the way to go, she proceeds without hesitation, alert and ready to be checked in accordance with her master's will. This image specifies a form of receptivity to the higher power that is beyond grudging compliance. It specifies a willing spirit to follow the good. The superior man who has breadth of character carries the outer world. This means that we do not allow ourselves to be perturbed by what happens when people are unfaithful, indifferent, or insensitive. We keep detached from watching, wanting, and expecting. We let the world go without being harsh, vindictive, activated by fear, or collapsed in self-pity. We do not allow ourselves to become rigid through defensive pacts to act or react in a particular way, nor do we become nor do we, because of injured pride or from allowing ourselves to be worn down, decide that other people are impossible. We neither fix others in our mind as adversaries, nor lock them in a mental prison, nor mentally execute them. We keep our thoughts pure, our heads clear, our hearts open. Through keeping open-minded, we give others space and time to correct themselves. A part of our receptivity is to let things happen by allowing ourselves to be guided by the moment. We keep attuned to the openings, times of light when people are receptive, and to the closings, times of darkness when they begin to misunderstand and close themselves off. With the openings, we advance. With the closings, we retreat. In retreating, we are detached and free. We proceed on our way, allowing others to depart. Indeed, receiving this hexagram is a challenge to perfect one's receptivity, humility, and patience. Changing line number 1. Hoarfrost, underfoot. Hoarfrost refers to doubting the way events are proceeding. When we doubt the process, we begin to strive to divert the stream of events towards something more to our liking. We should cease resisting the flow of events and return to the path of humble acceptance and dependence on the unknown. Doubt is the hoarfrost that precedes the ice of giving up. Hoarfrost also refers to falling back on traditional defenses such as fear, doubt, anger, envy, desire, negation, hedging, or alienation. We cling to such defenses because we still harbor distrust that following the true and the good will bring about harmony and justice. We must aggressively rid ourselves of the demonic inferiors who clamor to rule through slandering the truth and through the self-flattery that no one is going to help us but ourselves. Therefore, we must take forceful action. Such thoughts may not be as conscious as this, but exist merely in seed form, as an unquiet feeling, as if a bad mood might be coming on. Such moods are hoarfrost that precede ice. Through contemplation, we begin to see our spoiled inferiors are interested only in promoting self-comfort. When we listen to or even consider their complaints and proposals, others mistrust us because they intuitively sense that we are harboring selfish thoughts. When we selfishly follow the good for its own sake. Their distrust gradually melts away. If we wish to have a good effect on others, we should closely monitor and control our inmost thoughts. Changing line number 2. Straight, square, great, without purpose. Yet nothing remains unfurthered. Just as in geometry, straight lines can be joined to form rectangles, and rectangular planes can be joined to form cubes, so it is that in each situation there exists the raw ingredients that can be used to give us shape. Forgive me. Just as in geometry, straight lines can be joined to form rectangles, and rectangle planes can be joined to form cubes, so it is that in each situation there exists the raw ingredients that can be used to give shape to the creative idea. Nothing need be added, nothing taken away. Through remaining open, we perceive the appropriate responses, and what we do fulfills the requirements of being straight, square, and great. Such is the essence of the action we can take that is in harmony with the cosmos. Our actions need to be in harmony with the way nature works, completely natural and within the context of the circumstances. With our forethought and form and from innocence, we say or do what justice and moderation require. Reticence and modesty protect us from going too far, and from losing our detachment, whereby our ego becomes involved in striving. We can rely on the beneficial action, the creative. We can rely on the beneficial action of the creative to complete what we initiate. Things go wrong only when we seek to do too much and to do everything by ourselves, advancing when we ought to retreat, and vice versa. We must allow others the space they need to perceive and react to truth. Only then can we make solid progress in solving our problems and in correcting our relationships. Changing line number 3. Hidden lines. One is able to remain persevering if by chance you are in the service of a king, seek not works, but bring to completion. We should not be concerned with whether someone will like or dislike what we say, or whether they will credit us for our achievements, but whether what we say or do is sincere, modest, and essential. Vanity, concern with how others see us, interferes with our following what is essential and correct by forcing on us selfish considerations. For example, in making a speech, we may be concerned with what our audience wants to hear rather than with the essentials of the topic. If we are modest and sincere, and if we stick to the essentials of the subject, what we say will be of use in serving a higher master. It is important to serve to the best of our ability, without thought of how it reflects on us, or whether or not we receive recognition. We attend only to our sincerity and humility. This line also has to do either potentially or actually with losing our reticence. Reticence is an essential ingredient of receptivity and modesty. We lose our reticence when we get caught up in the egotistical enthusiasm of having an influence. We relish being recognized as having the truth and forget to give others the space they need to perceive things for themselves. In making this mistake, we soon find ourselves isolated and our influence undermined. Then our pride is injured from having put forth effort only to achieve nothing. We should retreat from feelings such as wounded vanity that would have us consign others and their problems to the rubbish heap. In making these mistakes, we need to realize that they are mistakes everyone makes. It serves no purpose to wallow in self-chastisement. It is enough simply to return to the path of humility and acceptance. This frees us from blame. If we can be content to achieve our work from a background position by holding to the power of truth, then we will give people the space they need to discover the truth for themselves. This line also refers to times when an eclipse develops in our influence with others. When this happens, we should not be offended or shaken, but accept it is part of the learning process. Just as the sage allows the student to go out into life to put what he has learned to the test of experience, we must allow others to err and even to jeopardize all they have learned. This is essential if they are to develop a true perspective. Misunderstanding is invariably tied to understanding. Learning inevitably involves making mistakes and retreating from them. Therefore, we must trust others to learn by themselves. Otherwise, our distrust traps them in error. If we think we must personally intervene, then our vanity is involved. As the line counsels, seek not works to be seen as the prime mover or as infallibly processing the truth. Changing line number 4. A tied up sack. No blame, no praise. Our actions have aroused the dark force in another, either through our mistakes or through being misunderstood, through no fault of our own. Being isolated and misunderstood is to be in a tied up sack. The false dragon is engaged. We should avoid challenging force by a frontal assault on the problem, which would only cause hatred and retaliation. We also need to avoid the appearance of capitulation. We simply need to maintain reserve. Our inner attitude should be neutral, harboring neither negative nor positive emotions. Changing line number 5. A lower garment brings supreme good fortune. The commentary to this line mentions inconspicuous decoration. This symbolizes virtue that does not show. The color yellow symbolizes both discretion and what is reliable and genuine. This means that we relate to people only when they are receptive to us and withdraw when they are not. Sometimes responding in this way causes people to misunderstand us and judge us as impossible to understand. If our virtue is not put on to be seen, we will not concern ourselves with their reactions. In time, they will acquire a respect for our way of life. Our steadfastness gradually makes them aware of the truth through what the I Ching calls gentle penetration. To be willing to work in a background position is to be a true assistant to the sage, who also does his work invisibly through the ferment of the situation. Changing line number 6. Dragons fight in the meadow. Their blood is black and yellow. When we listen to inner fears and doubts, the stress of inner conflict weakens our will to persevere in receptivity and acceptance. When we no longer depend on the unknown, we are pressed to act. This is dangerous and destructive. This is a dangerous and destructive path to follow. This ends hexagram number 2.